Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a horror film from the USA, English language, released in the year 2014, directed by John Eric Dowdle, and this film is called As Above, So Below. So As Above, So Below is set in the Catacombs of Paris, basically the underground underneath the capital city of France. It's a very well-known area. A lot of tour groups go through there. It's basically a crypt that houses millions of dead people. And so it's just a very eerie sort of atmosphere, and it's a very intriguing atmosphere. So this woman, main character, she specialises in ancient history. She also believes in things that are not human, basically things of a higher power. And she believes that inside the catacombs, not only are there riches that are going to defy belief, but there's also elements in there that are going to change the world forever. So she wants to find this, but in order to do that, she's going to have access to the areas of the catacombs that are off limits. And they're off limits for a very good reason. So she gets together with a few locals and a few of her friends. They go into the catacombs, and this is where they go through a passage that they really shouldn't have gone through, because it turns out to be a passage that is the gateway to hell. So when they get in there to the areas that they shouldn't be in, this is where the fight for survival begins, as their moment of terror has become upon them, and it threatens to basically keep them within the catacombs for eternity. So whether or not that is the truth, and that is the case, or whether or not these people can get out of here alive is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on As Above, So Below. I was very excited to see this film. John Eric Dowdle, he is a very good director. He was responsible for one of the most disturbing experiences I've had, called the Poughkeepsie tapes. Poughkeepsie tapes never really got a release, a wide release, which I think was an absolute travesty, because it is one of the most creepiest films you will see. It's a movie that is, it basically lacks all of the laziness that a lot of found footage horror films have. Now what I mean by that, it lacks jump scares, it doesn't have cheap tricks, it doesn't feel like it's flogging a dead cash cow in order to make money. It actually feels like this is a director who makes movies because he loves making horror movies. And I thought Poughkeepsie Tapes is a mockumentary style of film, so it was very different, but it just gets you on a very realistic level. So coming into As Above, So Below, I was hoping that John Eric Dowdle wasn't going to basically use the same idea with Poughkeepsie Tapes, but he was going to have that same sort of element in his film that will send a chill down the viewer's spine. And thankfully he does have that. He does have a very mature sort of build up to this film, in that it does lack jump scares, but it has that eeriness to really send that chill down your spine. And I think that happens, that is because of the fact it is superbly shot. This is a movie that uses its setting to absolute perfection. It was in the catacombs, really, and I thought the catacombs was just an absolutely fantastic environment, because although something bad might not be happening at one particular moment, it still feels very eerie. It's because you've got so many dead people around. And so you feel as though, okay, you could easily get lost in this sort of maze-like atmosphere. And when they do start getting lost, this is where the psychological tension really starts to build in. So you've got a movie about psychological torment. It does hit you on a very different level, as opposed to something that is just straightforward. You do have the creepy sort of environment of, you know, what is out there in the shadows, but you've also got these characters who are forced to confront their inner demons. And because you actually see these people's vulnerabilities, you get a little bit of a connection to them. So it does avoid the stereotype of annoying characters that you want to see die in a horrible way, and because you can actually care for them to some degree, it actually gives it much more of an impact when bad things start to happen. So there are a few shocking scenes in this film that I wasn't quite prepared for, and because I didn't really want to see them die, it just hits you on a much more emotional level. I thought the acting from these characters was very authentic, and that is something that is a trademark of this director. That's something he did so well in Poughkeepsie Tapes, and that's ultimately what he does so well in As Above, So Below. So I really like the psychological element, and as I said, it does rely on its setting, and I think the setting is the main draw card, and I thought it used it perfectly. I thought, once again, it's very eerie, and also it actually gives a lot of mysterious quality to it, and it actually gives you a little bit of information about the catacombs. So when things aren't happening that are very thrilling, you're still interested, is because they're giving you a little bit of information about something that is absolutely so fascinating. And then you've also got the story of things like alchemy, and you've got things of a supernatural element that actually intertwine with it to actually make it a genuinely entertaining experience. So there are some set pieces that were superbly shot. As I said, it has a very claustrophobic sort of intensity to the film that really keeps you choked in. And I thought there were some moments in the film that were unpredictable, especially right at the end. I really like the way it finishes, because it does go against the standard as far as recent horror films are concerned. So a lot of people might not like the way it finished, but I actually thought it would finish in a different way. So that's something that really surprised me, and I actually really enjoyed enjoyed the way it finished. And so at the end what you get is another very good horror film, but unfortunately it's not an absolutely fantastic horror film because it does use a lot of things that you've seen before. It's a very generic way in its formula. Well, you push the setting aside, push the psychological atmosphere aside, and then you've got a very generic story as far as people going into a situation that they shouldn't be in, and all of a sudden they get lost, and things go from bad to worse and people start dying. And so that is something you've seen time and time again, and that's something that wasn't present in Poughkeepsie Tapes. As I said, that was a mockumentary. It was about a serial killer, and it does go against everything that is very generic, but this movie does fall down that generic path to some degree. So although the overall outer of the film is fantastic, the inside of this film, the way the formula is done, the way the storytelling is done, it is something you've seen time and time again. So although it has a very unpredictable ending, the very last scene is unpredictable, it is quite predictable in who you think is going to die in certain situations. So it does lessen the impact to some degree, but overall it's still another very entertaining film. It's not a movie that's going to win you over if you're in the middle between whether you like found footage or you hate found footage, but if you are a found footage horror fan, then I would highly recommend you check out As Above, So Below. It is certainly not a perfect film, but it is a lot better than a lot of films out there. So overall, for As Above, So Below, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars, coming recommended. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.